Hello everyone, Tatsu live. Sorry I've been away. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. Should I keep this vest on? Gonna wait for people to arrive. So hopefully you've seen my pre-announcement. Nah, I think I like the red. So, okay, got a couple people on. Hello, how are you doing out there in Facebook land? Happy holidays to you. I'm in Washington, D.C., just outside. It's Bethesda, Maryland, actually, which is quite different from D.C., as my friends on Real Progressives have pointed out. This is pretty much the epicenter of the self-identified wealthy liberal class. And what we're going to talk about today is the election 2016, the liberal bubble collapses. It's been quite a struggle to get my setup going here. And as Bill O'Reilly says, fuck it, we'll just do it live. Do it live. So here we go. The differences between Democratic politicians and are their voters bigger in difference than the politicians themselves? So what we're talking about is the panic that has ensued following the election, where mostly the panic has come unexpectedly from the left. They're doing everything they can to stop the legitimate election of Donald Trump. And I have written here, and I'll just read it for you, that something I wrote to a friend on Facebook. So, we have an election where most of Wall Street supported Clinton, where many Republican oligarchs supported her, where one of the Koch brothers had nice words to say about her. The lie of politics is that Republicans stand for this and Democrats stand for that, when in fact, they both stand for the same principle: more money in politics. I believe, that is me speaking, I believe that Americans are mostly centrist and want similar things. They want good schools, they want good national defense, they are against trade deals, and even mostly concerned about the environment. And I go on to say, yes, it is an optimistic view of society. I do not believe that many of the sensationalist media reports of a few isolated, both violent Trump and Clinton supporters, that they represent most of the people's views. I believe that we are being sold a dark version of a polarized society in order to keep people and progress in silos. Unfortunately, it seems that the liberal bubble of believing one party is inherently or substantively better than the other must be to be still shattered still. I think most liberals believe that democratic leadership can be reformed when they clearly have learned nothing from the past, from their defeat. And as a progressive, I'm personally dealing with this. I'm being held back by self-identified liberals who are still struggling with the result, still believing that Democrats are somehow inherently better than Republicans. So what I'm personally doing is I'm scaling back to the issues, such as DAPL, the Dakota Access Pipeline. This is very hard work going forward, because when people want to reject the results of an election, they want the Electoral College to go rogue and panic over, sensationalized media reports of Steve Bannon. It makes this work extremely difficult. So let's talk about that just for a moment. Now, I believe that there's a difference in, we have to, when you say Democrat or when you say Republican, you must differentiate between party leadership, party voters, the base, and also the party sergeants, lieutenants, the capos, the henchmen, the the Guard, right? So these are all very different things. But if, let's say we were just to talk about the differences between the Republican base and their leadership. Now, I believe there's a wide gulf between what the leadership says and believes, or claims to believe, and what their following actually believes. Hey, Ellen. I'm just talking, there's not too many people following right now, but I'm just talking about the differences between party politicians and their following. And what we see now following the election is a pretty wide difference of opinion between four parties, right? We have the Republican leadership, we have the Democratic leadership, we have the Republican following, and the Democratic base following. So we have these four things, and what we're seeing is the Democratic base, demeaning Republican voters because of what the media says about Republicans in general. And I believe this to be a false narrative, something that's sensationalized, cherry-picking incidences of violence out in the streets. If it bleeds, it leads kind of mentality, where we have violent, we have swastikas and what are otherwise peaceful enclaves of the liberal base, such as where I am here in Bethesda, Maryland. And so I think liberal democratic leaning people are being, thank you so much, Ellen. I really appreciate every time you do this for me. Being misled by the media. So we have liberals being misled by the media, thinking that all conservatives believe in climate change, do not believe in climate change. We're basically stereotyping, if you were, the entire Republican base. And I think it's a very dangerous thing to do. It's kind of fascist. It's certainly not fair, and it doesn't hold up to reality. So I think what we must do when we're talking to our disaffected Hillary supporters is to get them to realize what they're reading in outlets like HuffPo or I don't know, mainstream media. Those stories are cherry-picked. They may be true, but they do not define an entire, subpopulation of people. Now, I think I go on on my talking points, the lie of Neo-Conservatism, the lie of Neo-Liberalism. So we've talked about, so far in this talk today, we've talked about just who these Republican voters, or people, let's not say Republican voters, but let's say people who voted for Trump, who might be these people are, or that came out completely wrong, but I've been driving for 10 hours, so a little out of it. Now, we know who the liberals are, the self-identified liberals, and they believe a lie that's being promoted by the media about Trump voters, but do they know the lie about themselves? Do they know that their own leaders are lying to them? When somebody like Chuck Schumer, who I've met, I remember maybe 5-6 years ago, I happened to be in New York City with my camera, and I got wind that it was the Pride March was going to happen. I just jumped into it was this fantastic shooting opportunity, so I grabbed my camera. I actually went into the front of the line and just walked with the gay Pride march through the streets of New York. And it was really fun. I met Chuck Schumer, and here's Chuck Schumer shaking everyone's hands. And, you know, so is Chuck Schumer a good guy? No, he's not. He is the biggest Wall Street senator there is, outside of Hillary Clinton. And, you know, I have a link about Chuck Schumer. Okay, not the one I wanted, but I actually posted this in an earlier video. Chuck Schumer is absolutely the wrong person for the Democratic leadership at the wrong time. And Chuck Schumer's election to the leadership of Minority Lead in Senate tells you everything you need to know about the Democrats. And unfortunately, it is this pernicious image that Democratic leadership represents liberal ideals. They could not be further from the truth. And I see no hope in them being reformed. Bernie Sanders is trying his best, but Bernie Sanders is not getting very far. He's been given, you know, a pretty minor. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for watching. Not too many viewers right now. Maybe perhaps not a great time to be broadcasting, but I'm gonna keep going with it. So just to recap quickly for Sandy, we have. Oop, I got low power too. This is not good. We've got, you know, the liberal bubble pops, the election of 2016, and I meant to say the narcissism of difference between Republican and Democratic leaders. And what is that narcissism of difference? That's actually an adaptation of, thank you, Gina, an adaptation of something that Chris Hedges often, sound isn't great, I might have to talk a little louder. I'm using my microphone, it should be on. Maybe I'll just go around and check it. Yeah, it should be good. I don't have any volume controls here, but I'm just going to continue. So, Freud, you know, the famous Freud, pointed out the narcissism of minor differences, and this is something that Chris Hedges refers to quite often, in that in politics, the substantive policy differences, where the rubber meets the road, Republicans and Democrats are essentially no different from each other. You want to say that Democrats are better because they support LGBT, when in reality you have a candidate who supports and accepts money from Saudi Arabia, which is a regime that not only is anti-LGBT, but they publicly execute them. Some weird feedback coming through. There might be some popping with the radio signal, the mic, so I'm not sure if I should quit this or not. I might have to. Okay, I'm gonna cancel, guys. I'm gonna have to regroup. We're having a technology fail, but thanks for sticking out. The few of you that are on here. Maybe it's a little too much to try and do this on the road, but I'll attempt this at a later point. Please do read the notes, and I do have. I'm just going to say that the notes here are probably even more valuable than what I'm saying. I have a total of 23 articles and videos just about Donald Trump, just about what he's said. Sandy says stay. Okay, I'm gonna soldier through this. This is not going the way I wanted, but maybe I'll redo it at some other point. But now, the narcissism of minor differences, as Sigmund Freud has pointed out, is arguing about things that do not matter. Again, if a Democrat says they're for LGBT rights, that they accept money from regimes that kill LGBTs, that kill women for things like adultery, that kill Muslims in general, then what are we arguing about? You know, they're both, in essence, against LGBT people. And towards the beginning of this talk, which was not going great, but I had this quadrant: Republican leadership, Democratic voters, Trump voters. And these four things, they're very hard to converse about, because when we say Republican, we assume it's Republican leadership and Republican voters together. But what I'm saying, I'm coming here today almost in not to be an apologist for the conservative voter, but to be a skeptic of the media's portrayal of them. I believe that people in the middle of this country want, when it comes down to the issues, want the same things we do. I believe that many of them do believe in climate change. I believe that they want good schools for their kids. I believe that they want a strong national defense. I believe they want safe drinking water. And I believe that what the media is doing, where's the mic? Just use the phone, low tech. It's the message. The mic is right on my phone, so I could pop it out, but I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I'm talking right into it, so okay, I popped off the mic. Can you still hear me, Sandy? I'm gonna wait for a sec. All right. I'm gonna keep talking until someone says they can't hear me. So I think you can go through some of the notes here. Now, the GOP's it's better. Okay, great. I guess I should check this signal strength, because the signal strength affects the interference of the microphone that I have. Now, it's unfortunately the liberal class, the self-identified liberal, are being misled by the media and are very still much deluded about what conservative people believe in and what their leadership believes in. They still think Obama is a good guy because he's a smooth talker. But has he done anything for Dakota Access Pipeline? Has he done anything for the poor 21-year-old woman who got her arm blown off by a grenade last night? Has he done anything except lie to us that he was going to investigate rerouting the pipeline, temporarily stopping the pipeline? He's tricking us. He's not just not a good guy. He's lying to us. So this is who Obama is, and unfortunately, a lot of people can't come to grips with that. So that's unfortunate, but we have to keep going at it. I had a provocative post. Most of my posts on Facebook are kind of provocative. I like to get people's ire. Sometimes they'll come into the conversation hot. I actually kind of like that. And what I said yesterday is that, well, at this point, Republicans are more progressive than Democrats. And people are coming right at me saying, "Oh, you think Republicans are, anti-LGBT people are more progressive? Like, you're crazy." And I said, well, look what Donald Trump has done. He's single-handedly stopped TPP. He wants to bring back Glass-Steagall. He's backtracking on Obamacare. He is saying he'll work with Assad in Syria. He's working with Putin in Syria. And I have a list of 23 articles and videos about what Donald Trump has been saying in the past 2 months since October. And these are very centrist positions. And this is, you know, I think the people who have been studying Donald Trump, looking past the headlines, saw, a glimmer of hope that Donald Trump might actually be a centrist type of president. The centrist that we thought Obama was, Trump is looking very much like it. And Trump disavows alt-right supporters. Trump just completely changed his mind on climate change. Let's see. And we have, this is not a direct effect of Trump, but we have articles like Apple reportedly considering building iPhones in the U.S. instead of China. Ford shifts truck production from Mexico to Ohio. President-elect Trump says gay marriage is settled law. Trump, his infrastructure plan. Trump just announced he will not cancel Obama's Iran peace deal. And we can dig into his past. Trump defends gays from the Clintons in 2000. So again, 23. Yeah, Sandy says she's terrified. She's terrified about the climate work. Well, Sandy, you may trust me, but we should not trust Donald Trump. I mean, it's good in a way that the self-identified liberal class are holding Trump's feet to the fire. Some of my friends have even taken it upon themselves to call their local elected officials in Washington to protest something like Steve Bannon. But of course, if you do the research on Steve Bannon, he's actually not that bad a guy. His job as campaign manager was to get Trump elected, which he did. He was the second horse in the running, of course, before, or is it the third? I don't know. Corey Lewandowski, the third. So the third man in a four-man relay race, right? Trump is hated by the oligarchy. He's going to do everything to prove them wrong. I suspect that to be true, Ellen. And I think the most telling moment of Trump during the election was immediately after the third debate, where he's standing giving a speech at the Al Smith Catholic dinner. And on the dais, you see the entire New York power elite, the establishment. And you can see that he hates everyone on that dais, and everyone on that dais despises him, even though he's an annual presence. He comes there every year. It was his own personal vendetta to prove everyone in his personal social circle wrong, and he did it. Michael Moore said that this election was going to be the Rust Belt's the biggest FU in America. It's also Donald Trump's FU to the establishment, his New York power elite establishment that he runs with. And I'll go even further, and this is something I said to a friend of mine, a brother-in-law, recently. Donald Trump never called Mexicans rapists, and that's just a fact. I'm talking linguistically, semantically. If you look at Donald Trump's original announcement speech, June 2015, at Trump Tower, he said, and Mexicans, they're bringing their criminals, pause, comma, they're rapists. He did not call all Mexicans rapists. That is just not fact. He called America has rapists, So if he said, America was exporting our worst elements of society to Mexico, you could have somebody like the Mexican president saying, yes, and America is exporting their worst, their criminal class, their rapists. That is what Donald Trump said. He did not say they are. He said they're, as in possessive there. So, I'm sorry, but Donald Trump never called Mexicans rapists. That's just not true. So, people lose their minds when I say that, but words are words, record is record. So what can I? Can't. I'm sorry, I can't help you. You know. Now, so the first three links in my post here. Harry Reid blames James Comey. Chuck Schumer, all in with the Sanders agenda. David Brock. I find a lot of people don't understand David Brock's role within the Democratic elite. They don't know who Media Matters for America is. I've had to many times try to tell people who Media Matters for America is, who Correct the Record is, who David Brock is. David Brock is, he's just about as bad as Lee Atwater, going back, if I have to think about it. Lee Atwater's the guy who died of brain cancer. He was a strategist for Reagan. Dirty, he fought dirty. So, yes, Ellen, I agree. Media spin from the billionaires. And, the Democrats just don't seem to get it. David Brock's reaction from losing the election is let's reconvene. Let's get our billionaires together. Let's get our millionaires together. Let's raise some more money, and let's kick Donald Trump in the ass, quote unquote, in 2020. Well, I'm sorry, guys. If you're going to continue along this narrative, you are going to lose again in 2020 to Donald Trump. Donald Trump will be president for 8 years. And unfortunately, normal people like us are left with a choice. What do we do as progressives, or even just plain old liberals or Democrats? What do we do if we're just on a losing team? And I tried so many times in so many ways to convince my liberal friends that Hillary Clinton was going to lose. I knew this to be true in my heart in October of last year. I proved it to myself with the data from the 2000, 2008 primaries, 2016 primaries, the general elections of 2000 and 2008. I looked at all that data, and I wrote a Medium article. I did everything I could to warn people. Hillary Clinton is going to lose. So, maybe I've gotten some kudos. It's like, oh yeah, you called it right, Tatsu. But, the question is, are they going to listen to us now? I'm not alone anymore. I've joined with RP, like-minded people. I'm partly part of the team because I have slightly different analysis to augment the persuasive arguments that we have that real progressivism at this moment is needed, and it's needed now. If you don't like Donald Trump, unfortunately, yes, the 2020 election is upon us. And if you're just a limousine liberal, a armchair liberal, then it's time to get off your couch and start playing ball, because Donald Trump's coming. He's coming again. And who does the Democrats have? Who do they have? They have nothing. They don't have no one on the bench. They're, who are they going to run? Elizabeth Warren? Are you kidding me? She just doesn't have the national name recognition. Her record outside of the Consumer Protection Bureau, CFPB, is very little known. She won a seat in Senate. She's up for her re-election, whatever. I don't think she's Tulsi, maybe. That's my personal choice, but I think so. In the end, this is kind of a down the rabbit hole conversation. So in the end, what I've been telling friends after Facebook shouting is that we have to move, and I've said this before, we have to move from platform to party platform to policy, and just bear down just on issues. And a lot of people tell the Green Party that, oh, the Green Party, oh, Joe Stein, oh, they have to, they have to work their way up. They have to, they don't deserve, national presence or elections at this time. When in fact that's not true. Uh, it's very ironic that people who don't know anything about politics or political history in this country tell a party that has been in existence for 25 years and has 200 to 1,000 elected officials nationwide that they need to start from the bottom. Well, look who's talking, right? Now, so I'm concentrating on DAPL. A lot of our RP members are very passionate about it. They're very, in fact, bereaved about it. Sandy, people on my team are crying at night when they see the photos, the videos, the blood of shattered limbs and injuries rained down by the militarized military, actually, and militarized police at DAPL. So, but I'm emotional about it too. But at the same time, if I try to keep my head about it, DAPL's a good opportunity, people. DAPL's a great opportunity. Again, it was one of the issues that even the most aloof, obtuse, armchair liberal Democrat became concerned about during the election. Why wasn't Obama doing anything? And they felt shame when people like us posted articles and photographs of Obama in 2008 making promises to Native Americans to stand up for them, to hold like maybe 1% of the treaties that were signed in the past. Now, some of that enthusiasm or shame, rather, that they have towards Obama has somehow disappeared. They're more concerned about keeping Steve Bannon out of the White House, but we have to keep at it. We have to, someone did almost die last night. She's missing parts of her arm, and we just have to. I don't know what it's going to take, but we have to keep on DAPL as an issue. If people are beginning to phone their White House or Senate or congressional leaders about Steve Bannon, maybe we could get them to talk about DAPL at the same time. So maybe we partner Steve Bannon with DAPL. I mean, it's a crazy idea, but whatever it takes. Whatever it takes for us as progressives to build a record of issues that we've stood fast on for the next 4 years, right? So if we have an issue of being active on DAPL, on climate change, on Native American rights, people and minority rights, if we can act on these issues and show some leadership here, I think we are in the driver's seat when it comes to 2019, and we can be the ones holding, and it's kind of a Bernie strategy in that, well, we're kind of working within the framework of two-party politics, and that's exactly what Bernie's doing, but he's trying to get some accountability. It's working from a weaker hand. And in fact, Bernie got burned again, and he gets burned again, and gets burned again. But eventually, there'll be enough people behind him, and people behind us, that they'll feel empowered enough to demand the things that we see as fair and just today. Us as being progressives, right? So